I'm Devon,
I'm Bonita.
and this is a recap of our Whitehorse Blues Fusion dance workshop. This is day one,
April 21st and 22nd,
2017.
2017.
All right, it is 2017, right? Yeah. All right, so the very first thing that we did was we called the lines game, which is the game where both people are facing in one direction, and when I turn, she turns, matching the rate of my turn. I can allow as much space between us. We'll be close, we turn quickly, we turn slow. And we played it first as a game, and then we did it actually as a way of connecting visually in our dancing. And so you can add rhythm and movement and levels and be playful with it. And then we also did the version where we had all the different groups match and move laterally, and then you could end up with these group dances of 6 people, 8 people, etc. So that's first exercise. Then we worked a little bit on posture. So we had everybody work on the bracing sequence. So feet under your shoulders, getting first a little softness in the knees, squeeze your butt, engage your abs, reach up for the crown of your head, keep your chest flat, chin tucked in, looking straight forward. We got our shoulders into place at this little oration position. And then we worked on getting our knees into place. Remember, you can relax your glutes after you've got your abs engaged by externally rotating the knees, keeping 4 points of contact with the feet. And then here we worked on being able to do a squat and pushing out, keeping the knees out. And this is the fundamental of having your knees in healthy places when you're doing lunge movements, leveraged movements. So useful for keeping yourself in good health. Next, we went into visual matching following. So we imagined that one person, the lead remember we switched back and forth. The lead has like a light in their chest, it hits their partner, and their partner's job is to reflect that light right back. So that means when we're shifting weight, she's following my weight shifts. When I'm changing levels, she's following level and weight, so she's moving around. And then we also talked about the frame that's between our shoulders. When I turn my body, she's trying to keep that light again by frame shifting with me. So we practiced that first just as an exercise, and then we did it as a bit of a dance. And we also worked on switching lead and follow. So just in the middle of it while we're moving, we might switch, and then she's already in there leading this movement, I'm following her. And remember, it's all about relative height, so I'm keeping that light in the same place on me, this imaginary light. I'm not having to get to the same spot so that we're matching shoulder to shoulder, wherever we are relative to one another. Then we added in physical connection. So we talked about a few different ways of holding. So the basic lead hold, although we practice leading and following from both holds, is kind of making this little shelf here that she slots her hand in over top. And I also showed that you could, as a lead, put your index finger on the outside of the hand, and it works well for some people and less well for others. Keeping your elbows into the side. And then from here we worked on weight shifting, and we worked on having different levels of tone, so being really low tone and feeling how this creates a little bit of a lag, especially if the follow in the exercise has their eyes closed. And then we picked up the hands a little bit and created high tone to have a little bit sharper movement, a little higher communication. So from this high tone beginning, we then started working on how we could use tone, the connection of the hand through the shoulder to the hip to the foot, to get feet to move. So I just called this foot grooving. So I'm using the same kind of idea. And then we can use this to take steps. And then we foot grooved our way around, stepping back and forth, really working on finding how do we keep the tone to do this. And then we use this as a way of dancing. So we could combine this with our side steps and with our frame matching, okay, and all of our grooving and moving around. Okay, we worked a little bit on that last part there, which is leverage from this position, where we got a sense of how we could lever and support one another, and how we could compress and lever and compress. Okay, and then how that's an important part of feeling the high tone connection. Not letting your elbows go past your side, keeping them always pretty proximal to your body.
And with the high tone, you want to make sure that your shoulder is engaged and your elbow and your wrist, that everything is just higher tone. And that's what prevents me from flopping and getting too lagged, too delayed in my follow.
Yeah, sharp, clear communication is what we want. In the beginning, it feels too much, and then over time, you'll get better at it. Okay, then from there, we worked into the closed position, and we explored those same ideas from closed.
So just again, a quick reminder of closed. that the position of the lead's hand on the follow's back. Let me show. There on the shoulder blade. And then the follow rests the upper arm to connect at the bicep, and then just rests the hand. So the connection is more at the bicep here, there, than it is here. So that's one thing, where you put your arm.
And so we have the same thing as the high tone connection. We're offset now, so my foot can kick between her legs and she can kick between my legs. And a comfortable distance that allows you to leverage and do a little bit of compression here using my left hand, in this case her right hand. So I'm in the lead position, classic lead position right now. So we then worked on just doing the same things here. Frame matching.
Sitting, not leaning.
Sitting, yeah. Shifting weight. And doing the foot movement and the walking. Okay, and here I'm using her shoulder and changing the shape of her back a little bit. And I'm communicating this not with my arms, so I'm not doing this. I'm doing this with my own connection to my own hips. And the goal is to try to get nice and sharp at this type of movement. And this is just a tool to help you build lots of different things, which, as we learned, could become much more interesting. So it doesn't have to be used in the same way as that kind of rhythmic movement exercise. So from there, we then worked on that leverage component again, and we built up to being able to, one, lever back, so we're sitting back, shoulders over hips, so practicing that. And then we did the same idea where we pivoted, sent back, and
swung around.
Swung around.
Whee!
Okay, so that's our pivot, swivel pivot. And the other thing we did in around these same exercises is we looked at turns. So we did inside turn. So inside turn is where I bring, whoever's in the follow roll, I bring a hand across inside of our frame. So this is an inside spot turn, meaning she's in place. And we did outside, so I bring it outside. So again, switching, lifting, coming to the palm, pushing around, switching your grip when it needs to get back. In both cases, we want to get to that palm connection. I'm kind of pushing in towards the middle, and her hand is at the end of that unicorn horn, and I make a little halo around her head. This is a high tone turn, so meaning there's some connection all the way through the turn.
So that means I'm high tone as well. I'm pushing back so that we have that connection.
Yeah, and remember, high tone is high communication, not high resistance. She's not fighting it, she's just feeling me. So that means that she can still give her own energy. She knows the turn because she can feel it all the way through. And remember, we practice all these things in both rolls. Then we added all that into the pivot turn. And so I'll show the pivot turn right into our open exercise. Is as we're moving here, we did the inside pivot turn, keeping the movement, and we did the outside pivot turn, keeping the movement. Both forward and backward, both hands, both partners. And then we even incorporated that into a you go, I go turn. I have only so much room to work with here in this space. So that was day one.